Generalist and Specialist. If you've played TF2 at all, you've likely heard these terms, but what exactly do they mean? Well, common thought and the community should make the distinction clear. A generalist is someone who's good in a wide variety of situations, and a specialist is someone who's strong in specific scenarios. So our generalists are obvious. The medic is clearly good in every situation, be it pubs, Highlander, sixes, no matter what the game mode is, the medic is always an important and valuable class. Soldier is a very classic generalist as well. His rocket launcher gives him so many tools to work with, having good 1v1 potential, good area damage, rocket jumping, good at spamming chokes, spamming into holds, spamming sentry guns out. It's hard to find situations where the rocket launcher is a subpar weapon to have. Demo Man as well, with his sticky bomb launcher being so powerful and versatile, offering many similar benefits to the rocket launcher that Soldier has. Sure, Demo's 1v1 is a little more lacking than Soldier's, but Demo's area damage and spam is a step above. So, what's universally agreed on as the fourth generalist? Nobody's surprised it's Scout? Really? The fucking Scout? Surprisingly, yes. And I've looked around. People almost universally agree that generalists are good in every situation. There are not times where generalists are weak, subpar classes, and Scout is somehow one of these and fits all of these statements. Now look, Scout has his upsides for sure. His speed lets him get around the map and chase down and pick off targets. He can downright bully Demo Man, and he's one of the few classes that can out-MGE a soldier. But Scout crumbles at the idea of breaking a stronghold. Sentry guns? Guess Scout's gonna find something else to do. Heavily reliant on flank routes, if there's a choke that has to be used, Scout can't get anywhere near it without being ripped apart before he does anything. Having no options for dealing any kind of area damage at all. Go on, try to play Dust Ball as the Scout. Tell me how much fun you have, especially on the third stage. Go play Blue Scout on Payload. Tell me how strong this generalist is, and I bet he totally doesn't become useless breaking last. Why, if I didn't know any better, I'd think that Scout was called a generalist based off of a game mode that highly values mobility, only plays maps with lots of flank routes, and doesn't have any strong defensive holds or engineers being played on it. That's just silly. The TF2 community would never group classes into terms like these based purely off of their performance in a specific scenario. Alright, breaking the sarcasm. Scout has wrongly been given the title of generalist. Sixes amplifies so many of his strengths, and nullifies or lessens so many of his weaknesses. Less players means Scout doesn't have to worry so much about taking damage from multiple sources. He doesn't get spammed out. Being one of the few classes that can put Soldier and Demo in their place is very nice when half the enemy team will be composed of those classes. Mobility, very important, which of course just helps the Scout out. He faces far less spam in general, and doesn't even have to think about the enemy team having a sentry outside of very specific scenarios, like occasionally they might bring out a sentry gun on last. The game mode is catered to him, which is why you'll notice he takes much more of a backseat in Highlander, while Demo Man and Medic still manage to be core important members, and Soldier is always at least useful. Is there any class more suited to the role of generalist that's currently classified as a specialist? Maybe someone that deserves the title a little more than Scout does. Maybe someone that's always a core member in Highlander, part of your classic cluster. A classic pub go-to when your team is losing. A class that, despite being the slowest in the game by a big margin, threatens to be a full-time ran class in the heavy mobility meta of sixes if he's ever given so much of a subpar rollout mobility instead of literally the worst, so much that any unlock that makes his rollout tied for the worst instead of literally the worst has to be banned. The world may never know. But seriously, this is a term that gets used as if it means something. We run these classes because we're generalists. We can't have another class be good full-time because they're specialists, so they'd be overpowered if they were good in general. It's okay to just admit that you want to play Quake without actually playing Quake. You do you. You just have the gonads to admit what you are, alright? Alright.